Morgan Securities, a number of headwinds will dampen earnings per share prospects for U.S. insurance brokers unless an improvement in insurance pricing takes place. This is according to Matthew Heimerman, who is an analyst at Morgan. He said the biggest headwind facing the industry is foreign exchange, and it could lead to pressure on foreign profits over the next 4 years. Mr. Heimerman went on to say, based on quarterly average exchange rates, major foreign currencies have declined by an average of 12% relative to the levels of the past 4 years. He said that the euro and sterling, which are more material to most insurance brokers, are down even more. He said while reinsurance pricing gains combined with the continuing expense and merger integration savings should help mitigate these factors, he did admit that earnings per share estimates for the entire broker sector do appear relatively optimistic. He said that Aon will likely generate the best near-term performance given its acquisition of Benfield, which also should benefit from improvements in reinsurance pricing. Heimerman said the opportunity for gains in earnings is also high at Marsh Mac and at Willis. He did say that he believed Brown & Brown shares, the Daytona, Florida-based American broker, which is growing at a pretty fast rate, are expensive relative to growth prospects. One thing I did neglect to mention at the top of the hour is we will have the full transcription in Microsoft Word up on our website on Monday of the interview on Wednesday with Bermuda-based Roger Crombie talking about Hiscox's decision to move many of its operations from Bermuda. That will be up on Monday. That has now been certified. Stock market still remains choppy. It's down about 215 points as we go to a word from our sponsors.
From prehistoric time to today, man's progress has been marked by his ability to fashion tools and use them to his advantage. From early humans making tools from stone, man evolved and was soon trading with other men. Money evolved, and tools such as the abacus to handle complex money transactions were developed. By the end of the 19th century, machines such as the cash register began to appear. 100 years later, we have even better computer-driven machines which track stock, change prices, and automatically reorder. Meanwhile, the reinsurance industry has failed to embrace man's drive for progress. The reinsurance industry today would be as familiar to practitioners from the 1800s as it is to modern underwriters. An underwriter or broker from 1800 would settle nicely into today's business. That is, until now. For the reinsurance industry, pivot point changes everything. Soon it will be understood that the period before pivot point was as dark as the caveman period was before the abacus. Come and see for yourself if you don't believe. After a demonstration, you will understand what is possible.
Call Inspector Clouseau. Armed robbers burst into the famous Paris jewelry store of Harry Winston's last night and snatched valuables, including diamonds worth about 50 million euros. The three robbers on Thursday stole nearly all the jewelry on display at Harry Winston's famed jewelry store on the Avenue Montaigne in Paris, which attracts a wealthy international clientele. The thieves knew the names of some of the shop's employees and knew exactly where to look to find jewels that weren't on display. That, to my limited experience in criminal investigation, would indicate an inside job. Harry Winston's was hit by a similar heist almost 1 year ago when armed robbers stole an estimated 10 million euros worth of valuables. The U.S. jewelry chain has stores across the world and has sold precious stones to royal families and also lends them to international film stars for the Oscars ceremony in Hollywood or the Cannes Film Festival. The Chilean Navy is reporting that they have evacuated all passengers from an Argentine cruise ship which ran aground in Antarctica. The passengers were taken off the cruise liner Ciudad de Ushuaia, which became stuck yesterday in Wilhelmina Bay, part of the Antarctic Peninsula which reaches toward the southern tip of South America. Argentinian authorities said last night that the cruise ship was carrying 89 passengers and 33 crew members. No one aboard was hurt. There were media reports of Australians, Britons, and Americans on board. The Chilean Navy says that the ship's crew is remaining on board to, quote, carry out salvage actions the owner will have to follow. We don't know whether the ship is a loss or what damage the ship has sustained. If we knew that, we would tell you as soon as we do. In South Korea this morning, a blaze at a meat warehouse in Incheon, south of Seoul, killed at least 6 people. One worker is still missing. The fire broke out shortly before noon local time. About 200 firefighters were battling the flames as of this afternoon local time. TV footage shows dark clouds of smoke billowing from the gutted 2-story building. Workers apparently had been welding in the basement of the warehouse at the time of the fire. A similar warehouse fire in Incheon killed 40 people back in January. Assurant, the insurance company, said yesterday that estimates of claims resulting from recent California wildfires of between $10 and $12 million pre-tax should not be considered material to its operations. In 2008, Assurant actually secured its property catastrophe reinsurance program by purchasing a portion of the coverage in both January and June. The June reinsurance purchase included a small portion of coverage for a 2-year term. The company is in the process of securing coverage for its 2009 reinsurance program. We're tracking this storm, Tropical Storm 7, will track westward towards southern India tomorrow and continue to intensify, with winds reaching perhaps 55 miles an hour and gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. Landfall over Sri Lanka is expected Sunday morning, bringing heavy rains, strong winds, and 12-foot waves. We always talk about the unrest in Nigeria. Now we're getting some actual oil production numbers relating to the unrest. Unrest in the Niger Delta, the heart of the country's oil industry, is costing about 400,000 barrels of lost production a day. Some 113 oil fields, some operated by Royal Dutch Shell, Chevron, Mobil, and Elf Petroleum, as well as Canada's Adax Petroleum and the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, are shut down now due to security and operational issues. Average daily production deferment in the first quarter was 406,000 barrels a day. Currently it's now down to 397,000 barrels a day. Total production in Nigeria now stands at only 2 million barrels a day, down from 2.6 million barrels in 2006. Nigeria counts on oil for 99% of its export earnings, as well as 85% of its government revenues. We all get crank calls, telemarketing calls, other types of phone calls. If this man called you, would you take his phone call? Probably. Probably even if you didn't vote for him. The opportunity to speak to the president-elect is not something that happens every day. However, Florida Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen received a phone call from the president-elect on Wednesday to wish her congratulations on her re-election and to convey some other political type niceties. The problem was she didn't believe it was President-elect Obama. She thought it was one of those wacky